And you are watching the Weather Channel's coverage of Harvey now becoming an epic flood disaster across the state of Texas. I'm meteorologist Mike Bettis in Dickinson, Texas. This is a south side of Houston where the town now is underwater and ongoing rescues as we speak. Whether it be by high-profile vehicle or by boat, you can see that the town is literally swamped and underwater. And joining us right now on the phone is Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Senator, thank you so much for being with us. Obviously, you're watching this unfold as we watch it unfold. What is the state of Texas doing right now to respond?
Well, Mike, it is good to be with you. Yes, this is a horrifying natural disaster. The flooding we're seeing in Houston is unprecedented. It is devastating. It follows devastating damage we've seen up and down the Gulf Coast from Corpus Christi to Victoria to Rockport. A great many communities on the Gulf Coast are hurting, and as you know, Harvey is expected to stay here and continue to dump massive levels of rain, which is going to only exacerbate the flooding. State officials, local officials, federal officials are all concentrating primarily on rescues right now. Just in the city of Houston, there are over 2,000 high water rescues that are ongoing. There are a lot of people who are in distress that are seeing floodwaters rise. And so one of the things I've been working on for much of the day is trying to mobilize additional resources, additional boats, additional helicopters, high water trucks, so that we have the capacity to provide the help to those whose lives and families are being threatened right now.
Senator, have you been in contact with FEMA or even with the White House? What can be done? Can you get resources pulled in from neighboring states and get some folks here that need help?
Yeah, so I've spent much of the day speaking with the mayor here in Houston, the county judge in Houston, county judge in Galveston, in Brazoria, and asking, all right, what are the challenges? The number one challenge that the local officials are telling me is we need additional assets for high water rescues, that we have a substantial number deployed, but the need is even greater than the capacity. I just got off the phone 20 minutes ago with Governor Abbott, who the state has deployed 60 boats to the Houston area and 20 helicopters. They've sent about 500 DPS troopers to Houston and have mobilized a total of about 3,000 National Guards. I've had conversations today with FEMA leadership about mobilizing federal assets to get additional boats on the ground or on the water, additional trucks, additional helicopters. And then we're seeing from across the country, 10 different states have already provided resources. We're really seeing an outpouring of help, but this is an active crisis situation, and the need is unfortunately only going to continue to grow because the projections are we may not even be halfway through the rainfall that is going to fall on this region.
Yeah, exactly right. And Senator, I want to ask you, and this, I know that the need is today, obviously, and the loss of life, we hope we can keep to a minimum by getting some resources here to rescue people. But then you think about people that may be out of their homes. Any discussion Sure. with the folks that you've talked to today about where you're going to put everybody? How do we house these folks that are displaced?
Absolutely, and that's one of the many challenges that we're facing. The mayor's opened up the George R. Brown Convention Center in downtown Houston as an emergency relief center. The Red Cross is standing up facilities and providing. I've been talking with the leadership of the Red Cross to provide housing and homes. And one of the things that always happens in the face of a natural disaster is that you see Texans coming together and helping fellow Texans. It's something, we're a big enough state that tragically we see quite a bit of natural disasters across the state. And every time that, whether it's flooding or hurricanes or tornadoes or fires, what we see is Texans helping their neighbors. We see a lot of people that are going and staying with family or friends in different parts of the state. And we're also seeing in the Houston and Galveston areas, calls have come out to people, private citizens with flat bottom boats. If you can assist in rescues, the local officials have called for that. And so we're seeing people doing exactly that. The Red Cross always does an amazing job. So for folks who are watching, who are not in Texas, who want to help out, I'd encourage you to go to the Red Cross website, sign up to volunteer, and assist and stand together. And then there's going to be, after the disaster is over, there's going to be the long process of rebuilding, as a great many families have lost their homes or their cars or their possessions. But right now the priority is preserving life and getting people out of life-threatening situations.
Mm-hmm. Senator, what does it tell you about the true resiliency in the heart of Texas when you see everyday folks come out with their boats or with their trucks just to help somebody, somebody they may not even know, to get them out of harm's way?
Well, it's inspirational. It reminds us that you know, at a time when there are issues in politics and other things that divide us, that there's a lot more that unites us, and it is powerful to see Texans coming together and see people across the country pitching in to help. I mean, that's really, as Americans, we stand together in times of crisis, and we saw that in September 11. We saw that, we've seen that over and over again in the wake of natural disasters, and we're seeing it now. And so I will say, Texans, we appreciate the prayers from people all across the country, and we appreciate the incredible outpouring of help and assistance we're seeing right now.
Senator, I have to say, very well put. Thank you so much for being with us here this afternoon in very, very difficult times. Thank you for the information, and best of luck to you here in Texas, because we know we have got a very long way to go from this point forward. Recapping what the senator told us is that he has spoken with the governor, spoken with other municipalities, and the biggest thing that they need right now are boats and helicopters and performing rescues. That is the need right now. And when you see, you know, what's going on here, you see the reason why. Flat-bottom boats, in particular, something that's shallow, that doesn't have a deep hull to it, that you can get through, you know, maybe waist-deep water or chest-deep water and not necessarily scrape bottom or wreck the prop. I believe we're going to go to a different location in the Houston area where we have some more flooding that's taking over right now. Is that correct?
Hey, Mike. Yeah, we're going to go to Smithville, and we're about 2 hours to the west of Houston, and we're still dealing with major flooding here. Now, I kind of want to paint the picture for you. The street behind me, this was flooded several hours ago, and really the water came up overnight and scared many of the folks. In fact, with the exception of a couple houses, most of the houses on this street have had water come into the first floor, especially the garages and their first floor. And the mayor here, you really talk about a town of about 4,000 people coming together. It is a very heartfelt community. Everyone's looking after one another, and people have been coming over, letting people stay with them if their house has been inundated, getting up in the wee hours of the morning when the bulk of the rain fell and helped move the furniture off of the ground so it could stay dry, get their animals intact, and just make sure everyone was safe, that had a hot shower, could stay dry, and really just be in a dry location. Now, also to our north is the Colorado River. It is expected to get into major flood stage overnight and into tomorrow. Now, the flooding that you're seeing here, this has nothing to do with the river. This is just what happens when it rains too much in a very short amount of time. We've seen nearly 20 inches of rain here in Smithville, and keep in mind, we are far away from Houston. This is a far-reaching storm, and it has impacts far and wide. The good news here, at least, to provide some sort of hope, is the pumps. The city has put out pumps, and they have been working. As you can see, the street is now visible, and most of the water has now been out of people's houses. But a lot of people, it was a very close call, and something we can only be thankful for. I talked to one of the neighbors here, and she said the water was literally as high as it's ever gotten, and a low spot like this in town typically floods, but not to this extent. They said houses that usually see ponding in their yard, they've never seen it get as high as it has been. Keep in mind, though, this storm is still going to stick around. And we're closer to the center of Tropical Storm Harvey, and you can still see we're dealing with tropical storm force winds here. So the flooding is an ongoing threat. Again, the water has gone down behind me, but it is still raining. It is still coming down, and there have been some evacuations here in Bastrop County. Keep in mind the schools are closed here tomorrow here for Bastrop County. But again, we're going to send things back to Stephanie and Houston. And Steph, again, the flooding, just a tragic story there. What is the latest at your location?
Well, we're right here on Buffalo Bayou, and we're by the Hobby Center for Performing Arts. They have taken on a little bit of water. We were just in there and they just said on the back side, on the other side, it's not inundated, but they have taken on water. You see the highway behind us, where we are with where the on-ramps are for I-45. Now, Buffalo Bayou at Shepherd Drive, which is just off to our west, that's the closest gauge I could find. It is sitting at 27.94 feet. That's minor flood stage. Can you believe this is minor flood stage, by the way? It is going to go to major flood stage as we head tonight into tomorrow, and it's going to stay there all the way until August 30th. So this is going to be in flood stage all the way through our Wednesday. That's how high the water is going to be. Right now, it looks like it'll top out at 33 feet. The record for Allison was 40.2 feet, and the record here is 49 feet. But we're going to stay for several days, we're talking 3 to 4 days, in major flood stage before it's going to go back down. Now, thankfully, it's going to drop off pretty quickly, but it's going to take a little bit of time. You see that this is, again, that on-ramp, 13 feet 11 inches. That is how high the water is. Imagine cars drive under that, trucks drive under that. They have that sign because they don't want trucks to rip off the top of their vehicles. So 10 feet is about the height of a first-story building. So if that was a home, it would be inundated. And the water is rising, I would say, on the slower side here. It's not like we're seeing significant flash flooding where it completely catches you off guard. We are seeing a slow rise in the water here, and that's what we are going to continue to see here. The airports are closed. They're not expecting them to open until Wednesday. AT&T is going to credit customers here that have gone over their data and texting and whatnot, so you can get credit from AT&T as well. But I don't want people to think just because we're getting a little bit of light rain that it's over. This is going to be lasting for days and days and days, and we are basically at Allison numbers when it comes to rainfall, and it's happened in 2 to 3 days where Allison was over a 5-day period, and we're not even finished yet. We literally could see rain through Thursday. So this is just going to get worse. We are not, in the end, we're saying, okay, let's start to think about how we can recover from this. Right now, we are just getting into the thick of it here. So we are going to continue to see that moisture pumped in. The precipitable water, how much you can squeeze out of the atmosphere, is on the high side. Our average for the entire year rainfall, 49.77 inches here in Houston, and we've already seen 2 feet. We've seen basically half that around the area, and we could get another 1 to 2 feet. So are we actually going to see a year's worth of rainfall in a week? It's possible. I can't rule it out. And we could see the most from a tropical entity in Texas ever. 1978 is a record from Amelia, 48 inches. We certainly could surpass that, I have no doubt. And if you look at flooding and the activities most people lose their lives in, it's from driving. 66% of fatalities in flooding occurs because of driving. We've already had 3 fatalities due to Harvey. So we don't want to lose any more people, and 2 of those were flood-related deaths. Millions upon millions of people have been affected by this. And then, Carl, it's not only the flooding, but though we just have a light breeze, it's the tornadoes that we have to continue to watch for here.
Yeah, exactly right. And there is a new tornado warning right now for Harris County and the west side of Harris County. This has been an ongoing threat. So you've got this massive rain that is coming up into the metro area, and now this tornado warning on the west side of Houston. Fort Bend, Harris, and Waller counties under warning right now. We were looking at a pretty tight circulation. It has loosened it just a little bit, but there is definitely a circulation showing up there near Mission Bend, right in that area. Let's take that off to the northwest, see where that's going to be headed next, coming right up towards the Katy Freeway. So that'll be getting into Barker, as well as the Texas Children's Hospital, that area, Sundown Elementary, and Lorraine Golbo Elementary as well. If you're anywhere near any of those landmarks, you want to take cover immediately. And looking at the radar picture more broadly, you see there's still an awful lot of rain, especially in northern parts of Harris County. It's starting to fill in a little bit more here, Fort Bend and southwestern parts of Harris County. And this is the kind of thing that's going to go on for a very long time, as Stephanie mentioned. Total amounts of rainfall, there you see in that purple color, 15, 18, 20 plus inches since Friday. And so all of the rain gauges gauges around, or the stream flow gauges, I should say, around the Harris County area, all in major stage pretty much. There are some exceptions, but they're almost all in major stage right now. So this is the extent of the flooding that we're talking about across the Houston Metro. Along the North Loop there, Beltway 8, 290, Katy Freeway, Southwest Freeway, 288 down the Gulf Freeway, and all of those spots, you've got exceptional flooding that is ongoing here, indicated by those gauges there. Now, looking at where we go from here, and here are live pictures of people that are being rescued right now. This is, I believe, down in Dickinson. And so this is the type of thing that we have been seeing over and over and over again, whether it's by trucks or other types of heavy machinery, certainly a lot of boats, people doing anything they can to get other people out of harm's way. A massive effort underway with rescue personnel, but also with civilians, people who just have the equipment or the know-how or the drive to be able to help other people out. So we've got a lot more rain on the way. That's what's most worrisome about this. And when we look at the satellite picture, you can see this spin in the atmosphere right now across parts of Texas that really is winding down very, very slowly. But in addition to that, a lot of the things that drove this in the first place are still there. Warm and humid air coming in from the Gulf, upper level support, and that's what's going to keep this system stronger right through the middle to end of this week. And here you see the radar picture going through tonight and early tomorrow. We still see these big bands of heavy rain coming right up into Houston. This particular model showing us a widespread area of 5+ inches of rain there in Houston just in the next 18 hours. And that's to say nothing of what happens beyond that point. And so as we go back out to Mike Bettis in Dickinson, Mike, we're talking about a situation where at a minimum that is going to slow the recession. And if the rainfall rates are high enough, then it may actually get worse in some parts of the Houston metro area.
And you kind of scratch your head and you wonder how it gets any worse than it already is, Carl. You know, in Dickinson, it's just alarming to see what's happening right now. And I look down Highway 3 here, and it's just a steady stream of pickup trucks and boats. And one after another going to find people to rescue, people that need the call. We actually had 4 police officers on a front end loader. They're literally sitting in the shovel and going down trying to find boats. They're just going to commandeer boats and try to help people and rescue people with the boats. The situation is unfolding. It's only just begun. It's likely to get worse than this. These pictures are stunning. But imagine what happens now with more rain in the forecast. A breaking news situation right now with Houston, Texas and surrounding areas going underwater. We're back after this.